Good morning, Chairman Thomas Vallely, President Scott Friedson, Mr. Phạm Gia Tuấn, Acting Director of Department of External Relations of Ho Chi Minh City, Ms. Susan Burns, U.S. Consul Generals, Ms. Amanda Nguyen, distinguished guests, families, faculties, alumni, and our dear class of 2025 friends! We are Phạm Gia Tuấn, graduating students in economics and psychology.
And Hoàng Thu Hằng, graduating student in literature.
Woo! What an honor it is to be standing here on this stage today. In fact, there are two very special people sitting in this conference hall, right in the heart of this unification palace, who are probably more confused than anyone else about what is going on right now. And that is my wonderful parents. Ba mẹ ơi, ba mẹ đừng bất ngờ quá nhé. I'm so sorry that I didn't tell you earlier that I will be up here a little bit longer than usual for today, or why I was rushing out of you so rushly out of the house this morning. But I'm deeply honored to share this moment with you, and I love you both very much. And with that being said, obviously, after 1,342 days, congratulations, class of 2025! You made it!
Okay, so let's start. About 4 or 5 years ago, on a trip to Ho Chi Minh City, I visited the Reunification Palace for the first time. I was most struck by how each of the rooms was preserved with careful details. Precious historic furniture imitated a room of importance. I could feel the weight of history. When I looked at the simple chairs and desk, so well preserved and maintained by the team here, what I saw was not only old remnants from the past. I was seeing historical moments playing right in front of my eyes. Coming to Fulbright, I was eager to leave my historical moments on the Fulbright campus. I was engrossed in taking deep roots among the library shelves, selfishly wanting to take in every piece of knowledge, nutrition, all for myself. I stumbled into literature classes and did not quite get out until last month, actually. I am forever in awe of how my faculty and peers articulate the multiplicity of the ordinary and reading them as extraordinary. I take 2 other minors, social studies, where are you? Woo! And history. Woo! My classmate and I made a lot of jokes about anthropology of sex to combat all its heavy texts. They're all amazing sex texts, Professor Liz. I learned from the social studies major to listen to the voices and lives of people outside of my circle, emphasizing how we must welcome complexity in a world constantly demanding simplicity. I learned to not get so annoyed when some history students kept coming to me and asked, "Do you know what happened on this day or that year?" You know who you are. But I was always pleasantly surprised and in awe with how erudite they are about the past and present. I talked to peers in Vietnam studies and gasped at how they read Hanoi documents or do amazing interdisciplinary research. I was even more inspired by my friends in AMS who pioneer artistic vision and products that are both intellectually informed and aesthetically brave. And though I have only known you through my exploratory courses, I admire the integrated science major for the beautifully complex ways you see and interact with the matters of the world. Most importantly, I found a space and community that encouraged me to write. I wrote a lot of essays, sure, but I practiced writing personally equally as much. With writing, I could fly far into my feelings, explore questions and rationality I did not expect I could think of. At times when I share my writings with friends and we stay up discussing, dissecting, gossiping, it was so fun. I forgot there were assignments to do or skills to get better at all.
Unlike Hằng, I was never the one to stay at one place or do only one thing. More than anything, I've always loved walking between the walls. When I first stepped onto Fulbright campus, I was literally hungry, like real hungry, for everything that sparked just a flicker of interest. That's how I ended up in 2D, 3D Foundation of Arts and Media Studies, debugging Python in computer science, programming for data science and visualization, and eventually falling deeply, unexpectedly in love with behavioral and experimental economics. The class later inspired my capstone topic. But Fulbright wasn't just an academic playground. It was a place where I tried to on many selves and live many lives. As a student, as a teaching assistant, as a club member, an admission student assistant, and sometimes just a joyful spectator of someone else in our community's growth. I admire the psychology majors who turn theory into care, from campus mental health work to community engaging in the Central Highlands. I admire the applied maths majors who quietly earn global scholarship and research opportunities in Singapore, in Europe, and in the United States. Some even flew before I actually submitted my last assignments. Wow. And I remain in awe of the human census engineers who handle complexity with calm precision, even when it meant I actually putting on the literary fires, as you can see from the welcoming videos, when I literally burned the school in makerspace in my freshman year. But going broad, obviously, is not being lost. It's being open. It's learning to hold complexity, to sit in the middle of a conversation and truly listen. It's realizing that connecting across disciplines, across people, across places, this is how we grow, not just as professionals, but as human beings. And we, Hằng and I, both study at Fulbright. Two very different journeys, two very different ways of being. But I believe many of you in the class of 2025 will see yourself in one of our stories. If you ask me, Tuấn, what is your secret for doing so many things? I would say FOMO, fear of missing out. For such a long time, I kept looking outward, measuring my worth against what others were doing. But at Fulbright, something shifted. Not out there, but in here, and in here. I remember one afternoon in behavioral and experimental economics class when I wasn't paying attention to anything. Sorry, Professor Graham, my bad. Except a plastic ruler lying on my desk. I picked it up and started wondering, okay, a ruler can measure length, but cannot measure weight. A scale can measure weight, but cannot measure speed. And neither the scale nor the ruler can capture the shape of the person's curiosity or how far someone has strived to find their voice. That moment stayed with me. Because for most of my life, I have been trying to measure myself using borrowed instruments, borrowed definition of success, borrowed comparisons. And yet, here at Fulbright, none of us had the same blueprint. Even like our GPAs, once like one of the most standardized measure scale, couldn't begin to reflect the emotional terrains of our journeys. Hằng and I, really, for instance, studied completely different majors, learning took different classes, worked different paths, and trying to make meaning out of vastly different journeys, different questions. So, how could there ever be a single ruler to measure both? There isn't, and there never was.
Indeed, my own blueprint in literature was challenged when, during my exchange semester in upstate New York, a professor asked me, "So why do you want to study literature and languages, besides the fact that you were doing well in it?" I was stunned. At the time, I didn't know how to answer, because for a long time it has always been about getting better and better for myself.
Right.
Looking back, however, the answer was in plain sight. The answer to why I was studying literature was because of you all. It was because the people of Fulbright happened to me. Literature, social studies, and history are ways for me to understand the humans around me. Your ambitions, your struggles, but also burning passions, despite ongoing questions of unemployment from our family. As it turned out, I was not taking roots alone. I was already planted in an ecosystem of brilliant, hardworking peers.
Like Hằng, I realized my answers had been around me all along, in the people, in a quiet moment of unfolding, of meaning, and in Fulbright itself, a place that kept urging me to ask the question, why? That's when I stopped asking whether I had done enough, and started asking whether what I did truly mean something to me. Yes, to me. I go broad not out of fear anymore, but from a hope that I won't let time pass with regret. I have learned to make peace with my own pace. So here's what we want to say to you, my fellow classmates, my friends. You are enough. Not when you get a job offer, not when you win the scholarship, not when your parents finally understand your majors. You are enough and wonderful right now, as you are on this stage in this moment. We are a class full of beautiful contradictions. Some of us dive deep, but some of us explore wider. But no matter the rhythm or the route, none of us were ever meant to be compared. We are not parallel lines facing towards a finish line. We are marked right in different directions, shape a question that we are the one who could only ask. And to be whole is not to be perfect, and certainly not to be comparable. So, stop borrowing from someone else's rulers. Build your own. Stop rushing to match someone else's timeline. Write your own story at your own speed. Preserve your strength. And if you're still figuring it out, that's okay. That means you are still learning, you are still growing, and you are still becoming.
In the constantly transforming world today, it is getting harder to preserve things like historical landscape, nature, or stories from the past. Above all, it is getting harder to preserve our own attention, our ability to learn, to think, and to feel. It gets harder to preserve who we are. So, my very literary, but also earnest, and my best advice to you is that I need you all to write or to create for yourself in general. Because only through writing and creating and building can you see the historical moments of yourself playing out. Writing is maintaining and curating the monument that is yourself. Writing is the simple, small act of preserving yourself. I need you all to preserve yourself because that is the most amazing, precious thing that we have built together here. Then, I need you to turn to the people around you. Do it right now. Talk to them, share their thoughts and feelings. Take their hands, really, and hold on to it, metaphorically, but better yet, physically. Hold on to the people around you and do not let go. Check in once in a while because they have your roots in them and they have witnessed you building your wings. As we step beyond these walls and into the noise of the world outside, may we carry a quiet rhythm with us, gentle, intentional, and full of care. Remember what had made you, and remember what you had made. Continue learning and reading. On a daily basis, slow down, take a deep breath, and treat those around you with humility and love. With whatever time you have, write, make art, build things, with our differences, not despite of them. That is how our roots keep us strong and our wings set us far. Thank you so much.
Class of 2025,
congratulations on graduating!